Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Green Factor Unplugged, a show where we talk about green design and business of sustainability. Today, we will be talking to a guest, one of Mia's, the company under Unplugged. So, hi, Mia.
Hello, nice to join
So,
you again.
yeah, so today we'll be co-hosting and we'll be talking with one of the business under Unplugged. So before we go into to our guests, I think maybe we can recap about what kind of metrics that you look into when working with companies, and then we can go to our
Yeah,
guests lah.
sure. So Unplug is a eco-conscious select store based in Kuala Lumpur. We started about 3 years ago, and the whole initiative, retail initiative, was driven by the passion for us to bring up the voice of up and coming sustainable brands. So we host over 50 brands within Malaysia and around the world. We see a gap in the current commercial space that lacks this kind of focus and push towards sustainability and mindful consumption. And so what we offer is just everyday, high quality, well designed products, but it's an eco alternative. So we have things from apparel, home living, skincare, gifts, stationaries. And all of our brands and products are curated around 8 eco metrics. And really it's values that we want to bring forth. They are, eco-friendly materials, eco-friendly packaging, sustainable procurement, local made, social impact, preserving traditions, zero waste, innovation, and fair trade. So today I'm quite excited to speak to Saffron and Serai because we'll be zooming into the eco metric of eco-friendly materials and local made.
Awesome, awesome. So I think without further ado, let's bring our guest, Iman. Hi, Iman.
Hi.
Hi,
Hello.
Iman.
Hey.
You good?
Yeah, yes.
So thank you for coming to the show. I think before me go into the like deeper stuff, I think for the benefit of the viewers and listeners, can you tell us about your journey and how Saffron and Serai come about?
Yeah, sure. So first of all, Saffron and Serai is a company that is based in Kuala Lumpur, and my focus or our focus, but when I say our, it's just me. But the focus is to basically create sustainable solutions. So reducing plastic waste or finding other issues that we could try and address. So I started it at the beginning of the pandemic. So this was March 2020, and I was in London, and we went into a strict lockdown. So usually people say I don't have time to do things, and I thought because we're 3 months stuck at home, I know I don't have an excuse anymore. So this is the time for me to try and upskill and learn something new. So I ordered a sewing machine online, taught myself how to sew from YouTube, and basically used all the recycled fabrics from the company, interior design company that I work for. And sorry, my cat. Okay. So basically used all the fabrics from the company that they were going to throw out, because for me it could be upcycled into something new. So from there, then I came back to Malaysia and kind of got stuck here in the sense that when I tried to go back to the UK, my flights kept getting cancelled. So then I looked at that as a sign to be like, okay, you know what, let's be in Malaysia and start like developing something bigger. And my Mia is my friend. We studied together, and I know that she had a shop in Unplug, and we had a discussion about beeswax wraps, and so I started with that basically. And beeswax wraps are basically a solution to replace single-use plastic at home. So it's to replace cling film that you would use one time and throw away. So beeswax wraps are the main product of Saffron and Serai. And the way that I came up with the name is because when I was abroad, I would always miss home. And I wanted a name like Saffron for me is always added as an element of something special. So because I'm an interior designer, we always use things in an aesthetic way, like cushions are considered a jewel, things that are decorative. So that was the saffron aspect. And Sarai was my connection to home. So when I put those two names together, Saffron and Sarai for me just worked quite well.
Awesome, awesome. I think Just before we go to Mia, I just want to know why specifically you look into waste reduction.
You're asking me or me?
Yeah, no, I mean like you, Iman.
Oh, okay. Waste reduction because, well, my upbringing in my upbringing and my family, we've always been a bit conscious, but not in a way where we have to buy only sustainable things. It was just living consciously in the sense that we don't go shopping all the time for clothes. We don't buy the latest electronics. We don't waste. We always brought food on picnics. We never bought over there. So the way that our family are and the way that my family were in the UK is generally practicing simplicity. So with that, I think it was just a natural flow for me in terms of making an actual product that helped to reduce waste in some way, but be able to influence it in the sense that my interior design background gives me the aesthetic of working with fabrics, working with different colors. So that's how I bring in my different approach and my background to the beeswax wraps.
Cool.
Nice.
So I think Mia, you can start our next session.
Yep. Well, first of all, kudos to you for starting this by yourself. I know that a lot of people who are out of jobs, young students, are also passionate and always thinking to start on their own, but it's a difficult journey. Low resources, no capital. How did you start this whole thing? What was the mindset that you were in?
The mindset that I was in was purely, I just want to do something that makes me happy. So I didn't look at this as like, I have to make it successful. It has to earn 10,000 a month. It has to do all these things. For me, it was purely like, I just want to find joy in something and make things that, okay, if I can make something great, if people want to buy it, even better. And then, so that's the main reason to why I started. So whenever I get stressed with Saffron, I think, okay, at the end of the day, the foundation of this is to do something that I'm happy about. So yes, this part is stressful. I'll figure it out, but I have to go back to my core of why I started this. So that is the main, the main reason and the thing that keeps pulling me back. So when people say you need to like grow this and do that, I think, yes, in time. But my chapter is different from your chapter. I'm at chapter 3, you're at chapter 25,
Yeah.
So I have to also understand this, the step and the stage that I'm in, to not allow myself to be like, comparing myself to people that are bigger and better, have the resources, have the finances, have the connections. For me, I think I've, so far done everything from scratch, but knowing people like you, Mia, and connecting to other people, these are the ones that, by word of mouth, that's helped me get to, be able to still run 2 years later, now going into the third year. And in terms of financially, I just started with 2,000 ringgit. That's or 2,200 ringgit. I still have. So for me, my personality is I like to be quite organized and I like to keep track of things. So when I first started Saffron in March 2020, I just started logging things that I spent on. So that was the sewing machine, the supplies. So my very, very first expenditure was 2,200 ringgits. And that is
Nice.
basically where I started. You don't need to have a lot of money in the bank, I don't think. You can really just simplify things, learn yourself. Of course, you can go for the best website, go for the best developers, but you can also do it all yourself and learn as you go along.
Yeah, it's really awesome. I think that's one of the magic that keeps people attracted to your product and your brand, because it's out of passion and love first, rather than it being a business and then
Yeah.
everything else after that. And I think it
Yeah.
really translates in your product and the way you share your journey on Instagram. And I know that you lived abroad. You were in Hungary, London, and then came back to Malaysia. Do you think that being
Bahrain.
back Bahrain, right?
Yeah.
Would you have been as confident to set up your own company elsewhere, or is being in Malaysia made it much easier in terms of setting up a company and running it, getting the support?
I would say Malaysia 100% is much better and supportive of small businesses, just because people will show interest and people will not question you too much and saying, have you got this? Have you done that? Have you done this? At the end of the day, you can set up a business and still use your private bank account, and you don't feel like you're not a legitimate business. People in Malaysia will buy on Instagram. In the UK, it's not so common. You feel like there's a lot more competition and a lot more, it's a saturated market.
Right.
I feel Malaysia is very accepting and very supportive of individuals that are starting up themselves, and you will always find somebody who is interested. So
Right,
for
right.
sure, Malaysia is the place, I would say, that helped me grow and develop saffron more than I think it would have been in the UK.
I think, Mia, before we go to the next question, we have a question from Adriana. Hi, Adriana. Thank you for joining us. The question is, why does buying eco-friendly or sustainable products any different from buying regular products? So who wants to answer
I
this?
think we can start with explaining the beeswax wrap as compared to cling wraps, plastic cling wraps.
Mm-hmm. I think to start with, buying eco-friendly and sustainable is knowing the journey of the item, or why are you buying this item? What's the purpose? So for example, beeswax wraps, its purpose is to replace single-use plastic, cling film. Cling film, you use it one time, you throw it away. It lasts for 1,000 years in the landfill. If it breaks down, it basically leaches toxins into the environment. But when you're talking about a beeswax wraps, it's purely fabric and all natural ingredients. So you use it over 100 times. It lasts you 1 year, 2 years, because that's how long mine have lasted for. And then once you want to get rid of it, all you have to do is bury it in your compost pile, and it degrades, it biodegrades. So the reason behind buying eco-friendly and sustainable is you're more conscious about what you buy, but you're also not leaving a bad mark on the environment. You're not leaving waste behind. What you use is also going to go back into the environment.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I guess since we're already on this topic, it would be good for us to get into, just recently you launched organic edition, and I think in marketing and in the space now, people just throw out the word organic, sustainable, green, eco. It comes to a point where it's just jargons and you're like, what does that even mean? Justify that, right? So tell us, what is the difference between natural and organic, and the process of going into organic products. I know that is a lot more expensive than the standard. Maybe you can let us know about that.
Yeah. So I have been interested in making sure that all my products are certified. So at the moment, the beeswax that I use naturally is certified as food grade because it's in close contact with your food. But then the next level is organic. And because I started stocking with a company here called Just Life Shop, their requirement is that they all have to be, all the ingredients have to be certified. And for me, it was the push that I needed to make sure that I found the right suppliers, the right certifications. But the issue with that is that it's 2 times, 3 times the price. So for example, 1 kilo of natural beeswax could be 70 ringgits, but 1 kilo of organic will be 140. So you have to work that into your price point, because of course you're not going to be able to sell it for the same price. And people sometimes don't understand, like when you have an organic sticker, like why is it 10, 15 ringgits more than the one that's like right next to it? But organic means that it's 100, and especially when it's certified USDA organic or any other certification, it means that, for example, the bees, when they are used, then they're happy bees. They're not being treated with antibiotics. They're not being given chemicals. This is also the same for the pine resin that I use and the jojoba oil that I use. Everything in the organic range is organic and sustainable, because you know that no chemicals are going into your body. And nowadays, when you see like the food that you eat, sometimes it makes you sick. So it's always nice to know that at least you have an option. If you are living sustainably and living clean in terms of everything else that you do, it's really good to have that option and to have that awareness and certification that these organic wraps are all certified. They're all clean. There's no chemicals inside.
Yeah. And was that a challenging process for you to really, filter through your sourcing?
For sure, because trying to source it locally is quite difficult. And a lot of these suppliers are based abroad, but then I started this business in a pandemic and I run this business alone. So it's not just that aspect that I'm doing. So sourcing the right suppliers and sourcing from these suppliers the certifications that also had to be passed on to Just Life for them to verify. That is one aspect. But I'm also doing the photography, the packaging design, the copywriting on Instagram, the socials. It's sometimes it is a bit overwhelming, but if something is important like this certification, you just have to carve out the time and try and make it work. And being able to stock with Just Life was the push that I needed for the business.
Yeah. I think a lot of the times, when when consumers or buyers ask, like, why is this much more expensive? Why
Yeah.
would I opt for that? I think my answer would always be it's an investment, for
Yeah.
yourself. It's better for you and the environment, and for consumers to realize they are part of the value chain. It's not just
Yeah.
about where you source, the retailer, how you market, but the end users themselves. So what you purchase is what you support in the end.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mm. Speaking about that, I didn't have a question. Like, can you bring down the green premium? So I have a answer for that as well. But I think I would love to see what you guys have in terms of this lah.
I don't. What is green premium? I'm not familiar with
I
that.
So
suppose the price,
basically,
yeah.
like how can we make green products cheaper or your products, even though how what are some of the things that you can do to reduce the price?
Mhm.
Or if not,
I
I
guess I could
uh,
start with that. If I think it became the norm, then for the
Yeah.
people making and the people selling, it's easier. But at the moment, when me and Mia choose to stock and make sustainable products, you don't you don't guarantee that you will get sales. So you have to make sure that that aspect can cover the work that's going into it, the sourcing, making sure that all your packaging is plastic free. What I try to do is make sure everything is plastic free. So it's a lot more time and effort that goes into making it green. But once it becomes the norm and once you can open up the market, sure, you can start to bring the costs down. So I think it's not just us, but it's also got to come from the consumer side where they have to start being interested and
Hmm.
start buying.
Yeah. I think we need the scale in order to bring down some price.
I think yeah, that is one of the my answer to this as well. There are a few things that we can do to make green products cheaper, and one of the things is economies of scale. For
Mm-hmm.
example, in my case, we use water-based coating to for our products, and it's a bit expensive than the traditional oil-based, but it's non-VOC and it's safe and there's a lot of benefit, but it's more expensive. But the reason why it's expensive is because it's being made in a small scale. And for
Hmm.
us, we also don't buy as big as the industry buys. So that's why right now we need to encourage more manufacturers or more businesses to adopt sustainability, and like we can bulk buy. Like
Yeah.
earlier in behind the scene, I've talked to Iman as well because we also use beeswax. So what we can do is we can bulk buy and then like share the cost. So this is one of the things that we can reduce cost. And the other one that I think I need to highlight is more on the kind of approach in terms of material or process. Like for us, one of the things that we want to do, we want to make green product more accessible. Of course, there are a portion of product that are on the premium side. However, we do have a lot of products that is below 30 ringgit. So how we achieve that is we make products out of our waste, the small pieces. Instead of just throwing them away, we make products out of it. So you have no material cost, only workmanship cost,
Hmm.
and that translates to better pricing to the customer. So these are some of the things that we need to share and have discussion on. Like for example, one of the products that we do, the phone holders, these are
Yeah.
made from bala wood. So bala wood is one of the premium wood here in Malaysia, and this is made from our offcuts. So we can make good, high quality products, but cheaper because we use our offcuts anyways. So there's a lot of ways that we can do to bring premium down, but we need to have more conversation on that. So I
Yeah.
think we can
We
continue with the next question.
Yeah, it's really about building the overall ecosystem, right? It's not just the manufacturers and the supplies, but more retailers. marketeers to really push further to create that voice and for consumers to start supporting.
Yeah. So I think Mia, next question.
Okay, so I asked this question almost with all of our guests because it's something that we struggle with every day. It's got to do again with it being premium and pricey. Have you felt the same when it comes to your customers? And how do you respond to it? Sorry, you're on mute.
Oh, was that me? Oh, okay. Sorry. So you're asking if I find that customers think it's or say that it's premium and pricey?
For any of your products, do you face that?
Um, I do sometimes with the beeswax wraps because sometimes people want to compare, but then you ask them like, who are you comparing me to? And sometimes the brands that they compare you to are like they're made by bulk in China. So how are you going to compare that to me I've come up with my own recipe, I make it at home by myself? First of all, it starts with like the comparisons, like who are you comparing me to? Okay, let's start with that. Second of all, the ingredients, where are they sourcing it from? Is it certified? Next thing, are they stocking in any places? Because yes, if you're buying from me and that's only the place that you can buy from, I don't have to consider the percentages of consignment. But once I start to put my things into stockists, the percentages can go from 25% to 50%. Those margins, I have to consider those margins to be able to keep running a business. So it's just explaining this to people because then they start to understand, okay, it's not 100% profit. You might get like 10, 20, 15, 40%. It varies for every single thing that you sell and it varies for every single location. So there's always, the questions do come, but then the answers are also there because it's not just me facing that. There are also other people that sell things in a premium. But there's the justification because the ingredients are good, the quality is good, and they're harder to source.
Yeah.
So I think that is also comes with the question: is beeswax wrap scalable? Can you make it like a lot?
I believe it is scalable, but to a certain extent, then you need to start having machinery. I do think I'm aware that the big companies let's say in the UK, have big machines that can do this on a bigger scale. But for a solo female entrepreneur doing this at home, for my version of scalability, it goes from making, let's say, a set of 30 to a set of 200. I've just gotten better at making more in that quantity. And of course, yes, it's scalable, but it's also about getting help. So at the moment, I employ 2 ladies a week, 2 helpers a week or once a month to try and help me. And so that has helped me a lot because me doing everything myself, I can only do so much. So beeswax wraps being scalable, yes, but there are different aspects that need to be tweaked and then the different levels of scalability.
Yeah. Do you think that quality would be any different if it was machine made versus handmade?
2 seconds, let me just let my cat out because she's fussing.
So Mia, I think before while we wait.
Sorry.
Okay, she's here. Okay, Iman.
Sorry, could you repeat the question?
Yeah. Do you think there's any difference in quality in terms of handmade versus machine made for beeswax?
I think machine made, you will have a level of perfection where everything will be the same, which is okay. But handmade, you will always have like the edges are a bit this or the wax is a bit thick. But that is the beauty of things being handmade. So it just depends. There is no good, there is no bad. If sometimes the ones that are made by machine, I do feel like they don't have character. So personally, I like the handmade version. But
Yeah.
yeah.
I think we have another question from Tengku Marina. Thank you, Marina, for tuning in. The question is, how do you educate the public about beeswax wrap versus using cling film? What's next for Saffron and Serai after beeswax wrap? So there's 2 questions there.
Hmm. How do I educate the public? First of all, you just ask people, what do you use at home? Do you use plastic wrap? Because maybe some people are using glass containers or they're using things that are reusable anyway, then that's great. But this is for the people that are using cling film and are interested in changing that and interested in saving in the long term. There's also the understanding that beeswax wraps are non-toxic. So cling film, you don't actually know what it leaches into your food. It's plastic. There are going to be some elements going into your food and touching your food. Beeswax wraps are 100% natural because the three ingredients are beeswax wrap, beeswax, pine resin, and jojoba oil. All of those are safe on your skin. So educating the public is just showing them how easy it is to use and how long they last and how good they look. Because at the end of the day, you're going to have a fridge or a kitchen full of beautiful fabrics that are coated with beeswax wraps. And I believe what's next for Saffron is to just grow and have people understand that it's a Malaysian based company that really wants to connect with the region, but also the surrounding countries as well. Because I do think there is interest in beeswax wraps, not just in Malaysia, but in other countries as well. And what better way to let people know that these are made in Malaysia and these are
Yeah.
batik fabrics as well, Malaysian batik fabrics.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, like, I love that you use batik because it's really, really beautiful, and I think your selection is really beautiful as well. But maybe you want to share with the audience what other products you have besides beeswax wrap.
Sure. So I make beeswax bags, which are supposed to replace like plastic food containers and Ziploc bags. But I also make other things because I sew as well. So I make prayer mats made from bamboo fiber because bamboo is naturally antibacterial. I was making face masks, but then the market tends to get saturated. So I don't really want to be doing something that when they say, oh, this is cheaper somewhere else, okay, go for that. You know, it's not that's not my prerogative. I also make this so like pillows. I make pillows from like upcycled fabrics, and I make the inserts. So, for example, the inserts is made using kapok fiber. So this is a natural product that at the end of the day can biodegrade. So you're not using the polyester filling. So there's my approach is from an interior design perspective, and I try to basically enhance your life, but in a sustainable way.
Yeah, yeah, and it's also very beautiful products.
Thank you.
Was there, I mean, I noticed most of your products are using batik. Do you have an affinity with batik, and what are your plans of future products featuring batiks?
So the reason I really try to use batik is because working as an interior designer, we would always reference African design, Indonesian design, Italian design, Balinese. You would not hear Malaysian. I have never in my 7 to 10 years of working, because it's on and off. So I have never heard anyone reference Malaysian design. So for me, I really wanted to bring Malaysian fabrics and the culture and heritage into that arena, and use it as the catalyst and as the basis. So for anything that I make, there will always be a batik range. And I try to do it in a way that's aesthetic. So I'm going to go for prints and colors that are maybe not your typical patterns that you see. So for me, that's important because I'm half Malaysian. I want to always have that element, and the brand name is Serai. So that's the Malaysian aesthetic always coming into play.
Yeah, yeah. No, I love it. I mean, having readapting batik fabric into everyday usage
Yeah.
is, and it's so much more beautiful than plastic cling wraps. I mean, it'll
Yeah.
be also interesting to see if one were to measure in a month how much cling wraps they throw away versus using
Yeah.
just one or two beeswax. You'll be able to
Wraps.
measure your impact, right?
Yeah, for sure. And the idea of using batik for beeswax wraps is you know batik as for your baju, for your clothes, or batik for your bags, but you don't really know batik as an aesthetic in your interior space. Cushions, maybe, but not so much as beeswax wraps, or and bringing an element of sustainability into it as well. So combining those two for me is something that I find quite enjoyable and I'm quite proud about as well.
Yeah, yeah. Maybe you can also share a little bit more about the food food bags made out of beeswax wrap as well. Like, what are some of the usage? Because I sell them at the store, but it's surprising when someone looks at it, they're just like, "Is that a lunch bag?" And then most people here don't really use lunch
Yeah.
bags. But for me, I use it for so much more. So maybe you can share a little bit more on the usage and function of that.
Sure. So the beeswax bags are basically like a water-resistant bag where I sew them into a bag, I coat them, and they're used as, yes, your lunch bag, or you can use them for your snacks to bring around with you. But they're also able to be used as like fridge and freezer bags. So if you put your bread in, you store it, it keeps it fresh for longer. You can put your vegetables in, put it in your fridge or your freezer, and they stay fresh because beeswax and jojoba oil are naturally antibacterial, so they don't encourage mold, but they are also, it's also breathable, so your food and your vegetables are not sweating and going moldy. They're able to breathe and they're able to last longer. So not only are you reducing your plastic waste, you're reducing your food waste. So it's kind of hitting two elements of sustainability at once.
Yep. And I think they're also great to use when you go grocery shopping for vegetables.
Yeah. So you basically, because when you go to the grocery store, you take off this plastic and you put in your potatoes. And what do?
Yeah.
You get home, you open it up, put the potatoes where they need to be and throw it. But if you can
Yeah.
keep them in the bag, it's a circular economy. You're not having to use the plastic. You bring your own.
Exactly.
And you can wash it. So they're reusable, they're washable. Just put them under the cold water tap and dry them off. Done. That's it.
Yeah. What's the lifespan of your product?
I would say safely 1 year, but mine have lasted 2 years, and I'm now going into my third year. So it just depends on if you look after them well. So if you're not using harsh, like hot water, you're not using them with hot food, you're not using them with things that will create bad bacteria, like you can't use them with meat, fish, chicken. It's just vegetables and fruit and food, and also
What
when you're
about
cleaning
soap?
it, you're not scrubbing it. You can use soap, but it's mild. It's just like normal dish soap, and you don't leave it on there. It's just like a quick wash, and then that's it. And then not scrubbing it, because at the end of the day, it is a coating. So the longer you can keep the coating on there, the longer you can protect it, the longer it lasts.
Yeah. Okay. I've got one last question for you. In terms of your journey in running this brand, what are the major what kind of help do you need? Like, what would you wish to see more of, and the kind of support that you wish to see more of? Whether it's more on the supplies end of things, or maybe just the industry overall. What would help to excel your business?
I think connections would be good in the sense that somebody says, "Oh, I know so and so who," for example, like Harith said, he's interested in the organic range. Let's collaborate to compile our order. So for me, it's like those things help. You don't realize the difference that can make for a business owner, because you can bring costs down. So it's just having open conversations on how to help and how to support each other, but also how to connect with 6 people down. So Harith might know somebody who might know somebody who might know somebody. And then they say, okay, have a conversation with Mia, or have a conversation with Iman, because Mia has introduced me to so many people just by saying, I think they'd be interested in you, or vice versa, So first of all, the support from the community and that open conversation to reach out would be amazing, because people sometimes think, I don't know who's behind this brand. I don't know who to speak to.
Yeah.
And I'm scared to reach out to them. But for me, it's like I want to be open, and I want people to be able to feel like they can approach me and talk to me and speak to me. Another aspect is, I guess, creating awareness of how this is a simple way to replace something that's causing a bigger problem. I'm not asking you to replace your whole lifestyle. I'm just asking you to replace or consider replacing one thing. That's it. And that small change on a larger scale makes a bigger difference.
Yeah.
Another thing is, I suppose, when I do hope to grow the business, but at the same time, I can't do everything. So having people, say, like finding help and finding people that are interested in being part of a sustainable business, for me, that is also, I think, quite important, because at this point, me doing the sewing, me doing the designing it's not something that can be going on forever. If I want to grow the business, I do have to let go of elements of that and then focus on my strengths.
Yeah. Thanks, Iman. That was really insightful.
I think this is why one of the reason I do the show is to highlight companies like yourself, and also your struggle, because in Malaysia when we search for sustainable business or sustainable practices, it's always like Western kind of stories and Western kind of example. So we want to have more local examples so that we can relate more. I mean, like if like you can do it, and then like of course other people in Malaysia also can do. So that is to inspire local and also conversation. So so thank you very much for coming to the show. For our viewers, if you find if you want to connect with Iman, you can check the IG Saffron and Serai. It's also in Shop Unplugged. You can buy it online or on their shop, which is in Bangsa Village 2, right?
Yeah.
Mia?
Level one. Level one,
Uh,
Bangsa Village 2.
and they have a lot of other cool stuff as well. Our
Yeah.
product is there as well, just to share with you guys as well. Disclaimer. But yeah, they have a lot of awesome stuff. And I would like to also invite you guys to be part of our community, which is the Green Design Malaysia, where we talk about all these issues. Because we want to promote more businesses to adopt sustainability, because there is demand. There's a lot of demand here in Malaysia, but very lacking in terms of the supply. So we want to encourage more of this conversation and solve issue and support to other entrepreneurs as well. So be part of our discussion. And with that, we are at the end of the show. Thank you for very much for tuning in. Do next month we're gonna have another Green Factor Unplugged, and the guest is it gonna be we keep it first, Mia?
Yeah, it's a secret.
So you have to tune in. So the Green Factor
Yeah.
Unplugged we do once a month, normally on the first week, the first Tuesday of the month, where we will talk to different brands. So with that, thank you very much for tuning in and have a green week ahead. Bye bye, guys.
Bye.